Turn down the lights and lock your doors, and listen closely. You have tuned in with Static Fear.
Hello, guys and gals. Today we have a treat. We have part 2 of I'm a local PI for a small port town. People are always walking into the water. So the title, it's a little different.
Yeah.
For that title. I kind of like that. So I think it's going to be I think we're in for a treat there, Peyton.
The first clue that I think is going to happen is since it's saying that people are walking into the water, is since Jimmy went back to the town, he's probably talking a lot more and getting people to explore the swamps of the town.
Think so?
Maybe.
People ain't just turning into fish and walking into the water.
Turning into fish, that's a bit of a stretch, don't you think?
Maybe, but maybe not. Well, I
We
mean, look.
got Aquaman going around in the
Hey,
water. Swamp water? Was it Swamp Man? Well, that is a real Swamp Thing and Man Thing.
Here's the thing, though. We are
Black Lagoon.
in a universe where there's actually, if you think about it, we have basically the Necronomicon and everything in it. So is fish people really out of the question?
Isn't it? Well, it never said the Necronomicon.
No, but it's like it.
Technically, yeah. Which I guess since it's a fan-made story, they could use the name, but just you'd have to take it out for anything else. Unless you get copyright. But that's neither here or there.
Exactly. Neither here or there. Further ado, I think we should get into it.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and jump in.
Parents always tell you there's no such thing as monsters. I'm not so sure about that anymore. What if you look into the dark and find there actually is something there? Nobody prepares you for the loss of sleep. Nobody prepares you for the utter fear of seeing that shadow in the corner actually start moving. You always think there's something you can do about it. Let me tell you straight, there ain't. Once the dark knows you're there ain't nothing you can do to keep it from finding you. I've been out of the hospital about 2 weeks, and it ain't been no walk in the park. Ever since the swamp, things have been off. Maybe that's an understatement, but it's hard to describe what's happening to me. I see things now in the shadows. I see things moving, shapes and figures in the dark. I leave the lights on in my apartment now, but that doesn't stop the dreams. I see that impossible tower in its monochrome landscape. I see that eerie green light flowing like water as if it's alive. I see Mary. I awoke early and immediately knew something was wrong. The room was dark and quiet. I stayed still. That conjures demons from the dark. Then I felt the cold hand slide over my bicep and grip me firmly. It pulled me in onto my back, and I couldn't help but look next to me. Lying there staring at me with those emerald glowing eyes was Mary. Practically naked, except for the sheer green garment she was wrapped in. She was no longer the mud-covered fanatic I met in the swamp. She was clean and ghostly pale, luminescent even. Suddenly, her eyes rolled back into her head, and her mouth gaped open wide. A thick, slimy black tendril pushed its way out of her mouth as I watched in horror. I pushed myself away, falling onto the floor. My body hit the ground, and with a blink, the world changed. It was morning, and the gulls cawed loudly outside my window. I looked at the empty bed and sagged into myself, letting out the breath I didn't realize I was holding. I took my time getting ready, trying to put back together my frayed nerves. As I finished, I looked in the direction of my safe where I had stashed that heretical book. I tried looking at it before, but as soon as I saw the best possible rendition of the Emerald Tower, I locked it away. I knew I'd have to look at it sometime, but that time wasn't today, nor hopefully anytime soon. I quickly finished up, suddenly wanting to be as far from that safe as possible, when I heard a knock at my office door.
Right.
I muttered to myself as I began heading down. I unlocked the door and opened it slightly, turning around without looking and heading to my desk.
Morning, deputy.
I said as I grabbed the whiskey bottle and poured a bit into the cold coffee still on my desk from yesterday,
How do you know it was me?
said Deputy Tom Bellum as he stepped into the door, closing it behind him.
Just a feeling, Tom.
I said as I popped 2 seltzer tabs into the coffee as well and stared at it as it bubbled and frothed. I've been having those two feelings, like my intuition has skyrocketed to new heights. I side-eyed Tom as he stepped further into my office. I could tell he was uncomfortable. Most people around here have treated me differently since the swamp incident. Maybe it's because of the rumors of what happened, or maybe it's because of my newly green eyes. Could be both for all I know. But I've learned not to make eye contact anymore.
Okay, so whenever it comes to his eyes, so did they just change colors or are they kind of like glowing, kind of like it was listed in the previous story?
I think they just changed to green. His eyes have that probably like an emerald color.
Yeah, but
But I don't think they're
yeah,
actually glowing.
because when we read the last story, it was green, but not quite green.
Mhm.
So
I think it's fully. It's like he's kind of. I wonder if he's going through
like a change,
something. Like he's changing into
like he's
something else.
cursed.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
okay.
sense.
I could see that.
Me too. So, did you need something, Tom, or did you just come to stand here?
I said, taking a sip of my morning concoction. Tom shifted his feet a bit before answering.
I'm guessing you ain't heard the news lately, Jimmy. No, Tom, I haven't heard any news. Been sort of keeping up with myself lately.
I said, staring into my coffee cup.
Yeah,
Tom said before continuing hesitantly.
we've had some strangeness in town, Jimmy. 2 people are dead.
I looked at Tom for a moment, his eyes shifting away quickly from mine.
Sounds like your jurisdiction, Tom, not mine.
Tom let out a long sigh before speaking.
Yeah, I know, Jimmy, but I'm at a loss on this. And you know the sheriff ain't doing a damn thing about it. I could use your help on this one.
Nodded, looking away again and finishing the rest of my coffee.
All right, Tom, tell me what's going on.
I said, walking around my desk and sitting in my chair. Tom sat down and went into the details. Apparently, the 2 people died exactly the same way. Both had drowned, but the strange thing was, they were found the next day, shriveled and untouched by the water life. Also, it's reported that the second actually walked into the water themselves, and there's some evidence the first did the same, though there's no witnesses. The coroner reported basically said that the bodies were drained of all fluids, which is hard to believe since they apparently died in the ocean.
This kind of reminds me of that story about what happened in Russia. These people went into camp. One ended up turning back because he wasn't feeling well, and they ended up being they ended up finding him about a week later, and they had each other's clothes on. It looks like they voluntarily got out of their tents, and some of them were found with all the fluids drained of their bodies.
Are you
This is
talking
a
about
real story.
the Dyatlov Pass? Like the tent was
Uh,
like cut from the inside out, like they was trying to escape the
yes,
tent.
yeah, trying to escape.
And some of them had like radiation and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. It's insane on that.
And apparently, like when with that story, someone tried to open it back up, and then he quickly closed it right back. I wonder why. That's strange. And that's a true story. That's the freaky part about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely honestly, you know how good somebody can make a creepy pasta of something like that.
Yeah, and it'd be real.
Yeah.
But if it got too similar, I guarantee you the government would take it down.
That the government does very often, like to
Yeah,
cover
'cause
stuff up.
yeah, definitely.
I leaned back in my chair as Tom finished his explanation.
I'm not really sure what I can do with that, Tom. Not much to go on there.
Tom nods thoughtfully for a moment.
Yeah, I know, Jimmy. Just maybe look into it for me. See if there's anything I missed. Yeah, alright. I'll do that for you. Just keep me updated.
I said.
Alright, Jimmy. Thanks.
He said, getting up from his chair.
I'll see you around.
With that, Tom walked out the door, leaving me to ponder the situation. If I didn't know better, I'd say this was all coincidence. But even in normal situations, coincidences are a rare thing. I mulled over things for a moment. Most likely, both deaths occurred sometime in the night. I doubt visiting the site during the day would yield anything new. Tom may be the only real law in town, but he was pretty thorough. What I could do was talk to the witnesses for the What I could do was talk to the witness of the second incident, Debbie Thornwell. I looked up at the clock and sighed. Better now than later, I suppose. I got up from my desk, grabbed my jacket, and headed to the door. The morning air was brisk as I walked down the damp street of Portsmouth. The familiar scent of rotten fish hanging in the air in the cold the familiar scent of rotten fish hanging in the cold air. A light fog hung stubbornly as I passed abandoned shops, the sun not yet warm enough to send it to its grave. I pulled up my collar and tried to block the chill wind and turned down the street to Debbie's home. I looked up at the ramshackle house before walking up its creaky steps and knocking on the door. The door cracked open. The swollen wood given some trouble before releasing the door from its confines. I could see a sliver of Debbie's face, eyes swollen on her weathered face.
Jimmy, what do you need, hon? It ain't a good time.
She said wearily, letting the door creep open a little more.
Yeah, I know, Debs. I'm helping Tom with the situation. Just wanted to go over what you saw the other night. Also, I'm sorry for your loss. Everyone's sorry, Jimmy. Doesn't change the fact my husband walked into the sea without any warning or reason.
She said with a heavy sigh.
Come on in, Jimmy.
She opened the door further, letting me into the home. Despite outward appearances, the inside was warm, cozy, and well lit. I stopped inside and followed her into the living room, where she sat in a well-worn lazy boy. Another sat not too far from her, also well-worn. I decided to sit on the couch. I sat and waited for her to begin. There wasn't any rush, and I wasn't going to push her to start.
It was about 3 in the morning when I felt him get out of bed. At first I thought he was going to the bathroom. But when I realized the light hadn't turned on, I sat up. About a minute later, I heard the front door open. That door doesn't open without making a hell of a lot of ruckus. So I got up, gambling my robe, and headed down to see what the hell he was doing. When I came down to the door, it was wide open. I looked down the street and I See the crazy old bastard walking down the road in his pajamas. I called out to him, but he just kept going, didn't even look back, like he couldn't hear me at all. So I went after him. I tell you what, Jimmy, I don't think I've seen that man move that fast in decades. I chased him down the street the best I could, but I couldn't catch up. That's when I realized we were headed towards the beach. As we got closer, I noticed something, though. A smell, like before a big thunderstorm. Anyway, I get to the beach, and there he was, kneeling by the water with his arms raised like he's praising the Lord. I was about to yell out to him again and move closer, but I swear, Jimmy, there was something moving under that water. I may be old, but my sight is still as good as ever. Next thing I know, that fool jumps into the sea. Then just like that, gone. Never came back up, Jimmy. I hate that the longest line for this story was her explaining this.
But you know what, Peyton? You did a great job.
Oh God,
I think you deserve an Oscar for that.
You really think I deserve an Oscar for that?
Yes,
yes. I think I deserve a Razzie for that.
A Razzie?
Yeah, you don't know what the
what's a Razzie?
A Razzie is bad awards for movies.
Bad awards? I didn't know that was a thing. I saw they didn't get an award at all, Peyton.
Yeah, it's real.
As she finished, a couple tears spilled down her cheek. You know what? Back to it. You actually did really good. It seemed like that, like, honestly, somebody was crying. Like an old lady was crying. So you did good on that.
Well, I appreciate that. I didn't even know she was crying, but I figured, like, if she's describing literally days after seeing her husband jump into the ocean, she'd be a little, like, overwhelmed, and me laughing kind of helped sound like sadness.
Fair enough. I didn't say anything at first. This whole thing had a bad smell to it. Bad smell. Bad smell indeed. And honestly, it's probably the musty house. That's what I picture her living in, a musty house.
All the way from... You think she could smell her house from the ocean?
Yes. It's that musty. Cobwebs all over it and everything. I know I would. If my loved one died, I wouldn't be cleaning the house. I'd just be laying there, just like the swamp case did. My heart started pounding as anxiety at the thought of started building inside me. I closed my eyes and took a deep, long breath to steady my nerves before looking back at her.
Was he doing anything before all this, Debs? Like, maybe something unusual or something?
I asked.
I don't think so, Jimmy. Well, actually, the other day, before he was asking the sheriff about the other man who died, it was one of his friends from his fishing days. They worked on the same boat together.
She said.
You think that has something to do with this?
I shook my head.
No, I'm sure it ain't nothing, Debs.
I lied.
Thanks for going over this with me. I appreciate it.
She nodded slowly as she watched me get up and head to the door.
Take care of yourself, Debs.
I said as I stepped back out into the cold, pulling the door shut behind me. The sheriff, huh? Odd thing for a man to die the exact way after asking about the previous victim. If the sheriff is involved, I'd have to keep an eye on him. Asking him about it would only tip him off, if he did. I made my trek back to my office as I pondered what to do next. I turned onto the street where the docks and saw a small crowd ahead of me. I walked over to see what the commotion was all about. There were about 15 people by a boat. All of them were talking to the captain, a man by the name of Emmett Powell. I stopped and listened to the conversation.
Was over there by the dead reef.
He said loudly.
I pulled up my nets, and they were completely full. Nets after net we cast. Hell, my boat almost full right now.
He said, laughing and puffing out his chest. Strange. Every now and then, there's a somewhat decent haul from a lucky boat. But nothing like that. It's been about 20 years since any boat came full into these docks. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of this. I turned away and headed to my office. Something was wrong here, and unfortunately, it seemed I'd be the only one to have to figure it out. For the next 2 days, I kept an eye on Sheriff Johnson. This basically consisted of sitting outside the sheriff's office, doing absolutely nothing, and being bored out of my mind. Eventually, he finally broke his routine. The first thing I noted, which was strange, was he actually stayed late at the office. Usually, from what I had seen, he leaves as quickly as possible, heading straight home. This time, though, he didn't leave till close to midnight. This actually caused me a bit of trouble, since I had to follow him extra carefully, often losing sight of him, because nobody else was walking the streets to give me any cover for being out there so late. Even so, this wasn't my first rodeo. I kept out of sight, following him through the streets to the edge of town. As the sheriff made his way through the brush, I kept my distance, only moving forward when I lost sight of him. I realized we were heading pretty close to the beach where the victims were found, just further away from the actual shore. Finally, he stopped, looked around, and headed behind a brush-covered dune. I waited, watching to see where he went next, but he never came around. Slowly and quiet, like I made my way toward the dune. I kept a wide distance and circled to where he should have been. There in the dune was an open. A dark cave sat there going downwards into the earth. I was about to head in when I heard a noise. Someone else was coming, so I backed off, found a large brush area, and dug down into it. Another figure came into view, cloaked in some kind of robe. They went into the cave, quickly disappearing into the darkness. I decided to wait to see if anyone else showed up. The last thing I wanted was to go in just to have myself pincered between these people. You know what? So I wonder if with the swamp people and the sheriff has something, it's a cult. It's a full cult.
In a way, that would make sense why Sheriff Johnson never did anything about it to begin with.
Yep.
I mean, like, what other reasons does he have for his own deputies to be able to go up to a PI and ask for help because the sheriff ain't doing anything? That don't look very good on you.
Yep. He's keeping it undercover. I sat waiting in that brush and counted 5 more cloaked figures that went into that cave. Knowing I was outnumbered and not wanting to get myself into an impossible situation, I stayed sitting in that brush. I figured I'd wait till they all left and explored this cave afterwards. So I waited. Waited for hours until they finally came out. They darted off quickly, including the sheriff. After making sure the coast was clear, I got up and headed to the cave. I took one last look around, then looked back. It was gone. Literally just disappeared in the time I had taken my eyes off of it. I pressed a hand to the dune and felt nothing but sand. My stomach dropped. I had hoped this wouldn't be another weird-ass situation. All hope of that vanished at that moment. What the hell was going on in this town? I got back to my office and plopped into my chair. For a while, I just stared at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I should do next. My eyes slowly shifted to my safe. I got up with a sigh and moved to it. With shaking hands, I unlocked it, taking a deep breath before turning the handle and opening the door. The leather-bound tomb sat right where I left it, unassuming yet ominous in my mind. I removed it from the safe and took it back to my desk, opening it hesitantly. The impossible tower glared at me from the page. I could practically see the emerald light emanating from its peak. I quickly turned the page. The text was some form of cuneiform that I could understand, in a way like a whisper in the back of my mind.
His light shines through time and space, blessing us who are chosen. The chosen awaits the seeker to breach the veil. May he walk among us, showing the truth of the abyss.
Even being able to read it didn't make it any more understandable. The next page showed another picture with script underneath it. A jewel shone on the page. I could guess what kind of light emanated from its depths.
It connects us to the void. To him, it is the key, a small piece of his light. Through shattered dreams, the way will open. The dweller of the deep holds the key where the black pyramid keep vigil.
Dweller of the Deep. The name itself made me nauseous. I closed the book, feeling a little bit ill. Memories of the swamp flooded my brain. The smell of burning flesh filled my nostrils. I grabbed the nearby trash bin, vomiting what little food I had eaten earlier in the day. My head swam as I lifted myself back up, my vision blurring as the light seemed to dim. Shadows shifted around the blurred tunnel of my vision. Hands gently cupped my face as it was lifted to meet green eyes. Another pair covered my eyes from behind, leaving me in darkness. Suddenly, thick, soft, rope-like appendages wrapped around my wrists, the slick, leathery flesh tightening around them and pulling me down to my knees. Before I could scream, another wrapped around my throat and squeezed tight.
Hush.
A feminine whisper reached my ears.
You're almost there, James. So close.
What did this
Why does-
turn into?
Why does it have to sound like that? Who chooses these words?
A
The
feminine
Emerald
whisper.
King.
The Emerald Queen. I mean, I guess it is a feminine, so I assume it's a woman. Could be wrong, but
We don't know. It's the
Mary.
Emerald King.
King.
I'm talking about the author.
Oh,
The
okay.
Emerald King 1988.
Okay. Yes. I know what you're saying.
Okay,
My apologies.
you're good.
I awoke to the sun stinging my eyes. My body was prone on the floor of my office in an awkward position. I pushed myself up, feeling sore and stiff. I could still feel the moist, undulating appendages on my wrist and neck. I looked down at my wrist, where large bruises wrapped around them. I assumed there was one on my neck as well. My hands began to shake as I pressed them into my chest, just sitting there as I tried to calm myself. Eventually, I got up off the floor, my gait unsteady as I went back to my desk chair and sat down. I picked up my phone and dialed in a number.
I need your help.
Tom sat in my office as I explained what I discovered. I had to give the guy credit. He listened to every word I said before calling me crazy.
Jimmy, I think you're losing your shit.
He stated matter-of-factly.
A cave that disappears. The sheriff is part some cult. I don't like this guy either. But that doesn't mean he's worshiping Satan. And what the hell happened to your neck? He's not Satan, Tom.
I said with a sigh, ignoring his inquiry about my bruises.
I don't know what it is, honestly. But it's bad. Listen, you ain't gotta believe me. I'll show you. Just wait for my call and meet me here.
I pointed out a spot on a map of the town and surrounding areas. The same spot where the cave appeared before.
Just when you get there, stay hidden and keep an eye out. You'll see, Tom. I swear to you.
I'll say this. I like that it's actually like the way that Tom talked is actually, I feel like, how somebody would actually say it. Like what the hell you think he's like automatically the ropes up? You think you're worshiping Satan? Like that's actually to me very
It's
realistic
a
of
real
how.
thought.
Yeah, it's not something out of the blue type of thought. Tom eyeballed me for a good 10 seconds before responding with a look like he was entertaining a child.
Fine, Jimmy. But if this turns out to be bullshit, then you better get some help.
I nodded to him with one long last look. He turned around and left the office. I leaned back in my chair as I watched him go, fiddling with a pen on my desk as I contemplated my next move. I'd have to wait again. I'd have to watch the sheriff and call Tom the next time he stayed up late at the office. I felt bad getting Tom involved, but I barely made it out alive from the swamp, and I had help back then too. I'd have to be more careful this time. I had to make sure we both survived whatever encounter awaited us in that cave. Another long, boring week passed by. I watched the sheriff the same as before, and just like before, he followed the same routine, until he didn't. When the sheriff was 2 hours past his usual leaving time, I called Tom.
Tonight, Tom, be there before midnight and be armed.
I said into the phone before hanging up, not waiting for a response. When he left, about 30 minutes before midnight, I followed. I was just as careful as before. No, perhaps even more careful. I didn't even see him step into the cave because I stayed so far behind. I circled the dune of the cave, just like before, heading to the same hidden spot I had used previously. As I neared it, a hand grabbed my jacket and pulled me down into the brush. It was Tom, looking at me all bug-eyed.
Jesus, Tom, you nearly made me piss myself.
I said, swallowing down the scream that almost erupted from my throat.
Yeah, you're freaked out.
Said Tom, his voice shaking slightly.
How do you think I feel? What the fuck is this, Jimmy? I already told you. Be quiet. More people are gonna show up.
I said, turning my attention to the cave entrance. As if on cue, more people showed and entered the cave. Tom and I watched silently until it counted the same amount of people walking in as before. We waited a small bit longer. I didn't want to be caught off guard by extras possibly showing up to whatever this was. I got up from the ground and motioned for Tom to follow quietly. He was hesitant at first, but I saw him set his jaw, eyes narrowing, in a newly determined look as he nodded and began to follow. He drew his pistol, and I drew my own revolver in response. Then we headed into the cave. The cave was dark, damp and cold. It got so dark at one point that we had to keep a hand on the wall to keep our bearing. We walked for a long time. How long, I don't know. The lack of light made it hard to guess time or any kind of distance traveled. Then I smelled it. There was a scent of ozone in the area, growing stronger as we moved. Ahead of us was a cold, bluish light began to shine into the tunnel. Soon I could see an exit, and as we neared it, I looked back at Tom. He looked back at me wide-eyed, sweat dripping down his brow. Turning back, I stepped onto the narrow path beyond the stifling tunnel. I stopped dead in my tracks as I saw what lay before us. Tom ran into my back before grabbing my shoulder and steadying himself. I swear I heard a small whimper escape from him as he did, but I didn't blame him as I looked at our surroundings. We were on a narrow bridge-like path. One side had a ledge about waist high, and every so often a torch jutted up from it burning with a bluish-white flame. There was nothing holding up the gray-looking rock we stood on. To our left was a drop that seemed to go at least 100 feet before meeting black, still water. I felt drops of wetness splattering down on us now and then. And looking up, I was met with another lake of the same black water. Only this time, the gray lights shifted beneath it, or above it. Some of the lights were single, others in pairs, some in strange clusters. I pulled my gaze away to look further down the bridge. Therein, what seemed like miles ahead of us, yet only a few hundred feet, was a black pyramid, jutting out of the water. Dark obelisks surrounded it. The surfaces of all were smooth and seamless as if made out of the single piece of obsidian. I realized then the only color around us was the blue of the flames, and it faded into the same grayish light that seemed to illuminate our path.
It's becoming more of a ancient kind of setup than what the first story was leading on. Because it was kind of a supernatural-ish cult in the swamp. This is taking in it. Whenever it's talking about the Black Pyramid, I don't know why, but the first thing I think of is Alien versus Predator. Whenever they go down,
Yep.
in Antarctica.
Yep.
Yeah, and just like going into a hidden place. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Cthulhu. That's what I think. That's my guess.
Cthulhu is a good theory, and it might end up being what it's about. But I can't really say that because I don't even know anything about Cthulhu besides what it looks like.
Or it could be. It could possibly be aliens.
Or it could be like ancient ones, like
Ancient Alien.
before.
That was a
Yeah.
good show.
Never watched it.
It's good. Everything on that's made up. Don't get me wrong.
Is it real?
It was wild on some of the stuff, man. It talks everything from the Egyptians and all that. It's wild. I felt Tom's hand shaking on my shoulder. I quickly looked back and took his head in my hands, turning it to face me.
Don't think too hard. Focus on me. Don't let it enter your mind, okay?
I said, looking into his shaky eyes to see if he understood. He swallowed hard and seemed to focus on me just a bit better.
Listen, if you need to go back, then go back. I won't blame you. Do what you have to do, Tom.
He seemed to look at me then. Really looked. Then he closed his eyes, swallowed hard, and took a deep breath. Finally, he opened them, and his gaze seemed much more solid. He grimaced and shook his head.
Grimace.
He grimaced.
The purple...
Yes, he turned into Grimace.
Turned into
shook
Grimace.
his head. Grimace taking on Cthulhu or aliens. Never seen that. Okay, little side tangent here. Remember the old McDonald's? It was on VHS, the cartoons?
Yes, my parents have them.
Yes. Those things was amazing. And Grimace was on there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
That's what popped into my head when you talked about Grimace. Like we're on some sort of freaking McDonald's thing. What was those called?
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go find them. Whenever I'm over
Is it
there,
Ronald? Wasn't it Ronald McDonald something?
Yeah.
Because it had to do with Ronald McDonald. This was so good.
No, Jimmy, I can't leave you here alone, and I need to see what this is. I can't turn back.
I nodded and patted his shoulders, grateful for him sticking at my side. I turned around and began to walk the path to either death or madness. The walk to the pyramid was silent and short, much shorter than should have been expected. As we reached the entrance, a smooth rectangular entryway that showed no signs of a builder's touch, I looked back. The exit from the tunnel wasn't even visible, as if we had walked miles from where we started. We entered the pyramid. I took one wall while Tom took the other. We both moved forward slowly. As we made our way further inside, carved murals began to show on the walls. I say carved, but once again, there was no sign of tool marks. Just smooth, glass-like rock forming strange pictures. Some showed humanoid creatures that seemed to be mixed with an anglerfish. Fins jutted from their arms and long teeth from their mouth. Their eyes were bulbous on their fish-like heads. I saw the tower again depicted in another carving. Its shape more true than the picture in the grimoire, but not quite as blasphemous as the visions I had seen. Either way, it hurt my eyes to look upon them. They seemed to shift and move without actually doing so. I looked away and saw Tom opposite of me, rubbing his eyes. I looked at him, raising my eyebrow to silently ask if he was doing okay. He looked back with reddened eyes and nodded, his face fixed into a look of grim determination as we continued our way further into the pyramid's depth. So, Peyton,
Yes.
it could possibly be aliens, not gonna lie.
Yeah, ever since I thought of Alien versus Predator, that's literally all I've been thinking about. It, so, right now, it's like, I love how it's still been a toss up between my theory and your theory from the last video. That it could still go possibly either way, or it might not go in either direction.
Yeah. It might be something completely different. Or I mean, it could be a mixture of both. Aliens and Cthulhu.
Why would aliens be working with Cthulhu?
Because Cthulhu is a very, very powerful god.
How do they get in contact with Cthulhu? You don't
I
have a
don't know.
phone.
I don't know. How do you talk to fish, Peyton?
Aquaman.
As we delved deeper, we began to hear something. There was a chanting coming from ahead. I gripped my revolver tighter as we walked, trying to be silent as a chamber opened up ahead of us. We stayed back in the entryway when we reached the room. It was round and tall. We could see the cloaked figures standing in the circle. Their arms were up as they chanted in a language that reminded me of the cultists in the swamp. But it was what sat in the middle that truly put fear in my heart. Sitting center was a large mummified creature. It had to be at least 30 feet tall, sitting down. I could see the sharp teeth jutting from its dried gums. Dry, dead eyes sat bulbously on the sides of its withered head. Long skeletal arms came down from its side and folded in its lap, ended in webbed and clawed hands. In front of its dried husk floated an object emitting a familiar emerald light. It was the jewel from the book, floating and pulsing with the chants of the people around it. This must be the dweller in the deep. The ceiling was the same black water from outside. And as we watched a figure fell from the water, it was one of the townsfolk, the same fisherman who had been bragging about his impossible catch. As we stood watching, he withered on the ground in front of the jewel. Then slowly his flesh began to sink in on itself. It grew thinner and thinner until, just like the creature before him, he became nothing but a dried husk of a man. He let out one final gasp of breath before one of the hooded figures picked him up and carried him to a small slot in the wall. He pushed the corpse into it, and a splash was heard after a moment. That's where they're literally. I wonder if it's trying to give it life. They're sacrificing people, and they talk about them drowning in the ocean, but
Yeah.
somehow all the liquids in their body was sucked dry.
Mm. Um,
Bada bing, bada
I'm
boom.
just I'm just trying to comprehend like the look of the creature because
It kind of seems like a fish.
it does, but the size of it, with long arms, long skeletal arms, it made me think of that thing from Aliens. No, well, Prometheus. Was it architect?
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes me think of that, but more fishy form.
more more fishy form. It's the fishy architect,
It's the fish detect.
the fish attack. Tom stood on the opposite wall from me, mouth agape, as he looked into the room. I tried to silently get his attention, but his eyes were fixed. Tears began dripping from them as he stood unblinking. I made my way quietly to his side and turned him away from the nightmarish sight. He blinked stupidly at me for a moment before wiping his eyes and lifting his pistol. Then he looked at me dead in the eye. I knew then we weren't leaving this place without a fight. Nodding, I lifted my revolver as well, turned towards the room, and taken aim. The next moments were a blur of muzzle flashes and moving bodies. We fired again and again, the people there falling to the ground one by one as we shot them down. We didn't think, didn't have to, we would end this blasphemy here and now. I pulled my trigger over and over till only clicks came from my gun, the empty cylinder spinning with each pull of my finger. Tom stood beside me as both of us lowered our weapons. Tears streamed down his face as he looked around, his gun still smoking from expending its magazine. My eyes were fixed, however. The jewel pulled me closer to it, and soon I was standing before it, looking into its emerald depths. I felt Tom's hand on my shoulder, and his voice registered in my ear.
You mean we have to go, man?
He said, looking at me. I reached out a hand to the jewel, when suddenly another movement caught my eye beyond it. The creature. I stared for a moment and felt Tom's hand grip my shoulder even harder. One of the fingers on that horrendous clawed hand began to curl slowly inward. We both turned and took flight. I don't remember getting outside, but suddenly we were both on the sandy ground, heaving in breath. I looked back behind us, but the cave was gone once again. I stood up weakly, looking at Tom and smiling the best I could.
Did it, Tom? We stopped them and made it out in one piece.
I said with a small chuckle of relief. But Tom wasn't smiling. He wasn't even looking at me. Instead, he was looking down at my hand, where I held my gun, his face giving off a sickly green glow.
Tom, what's wrong?
I said, looking down at my hand. It wasn't my gun. It was the jewel, glowing brightly in my grip and covering us with its strange greenish light. I felt terror grip my chest as I looked at it. When did I grab it? How did I not realize it was in my hand? Then I felt something cold and wet hit my neck once. Then again. I looked up and saw small flakes of snow falling from a dark, cloudy sky. It didn't snow here.
Fuck.
I breathed. And that's the end of part 2.
Why did it matter they breathe?
Hopefully he's breathing.
Well, yeah, but it seemed like it was a bad thing.
Well, maybe he's like, fuck. And just a long sigh. Like, it's not over. Still. Like, what the hell? But in a better direction. I feel like they didn't take no cop outs or anything. They didn't try to sum it up quick. You seem puzzled, Peyton. You seem very puzzled and boozled.
Well, direction I thought it was going to go in. I didn't think it would be like this, like big. I thought it'd be just a. For one, we still haven't seen Ellen. We haven't heard from Ellen. She
Mhm.
it's almost like maybe Ellen didn't even send that letter. Maybe it was Mary who sent the letter to get him there, since he's the chosen.
Mhm. And now
So
that he has the emerald,
yeah, everything's fallen into place.
and now it's snowing.
I don't understand.
Or, or do you think it's snow? Or do you think it's ash?
That's a good
No,
point.
I think it. I think it is snow because it talked about cold and wet hit my neck. So I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's probably snow.
Yeah. But why? Why is that a point? Did this take place in the winter?
No, remember it says it doesn't snow there.
Oh, it's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle. It's a Christmas miracle,
That's all they wanted the whole time was for it to snow again.
and they
It's a
got it.
wholesome story. People
Yep.
had to die and get their blood drained from their bodies, but for snow.
Yeah, but it snowed. He got what he wanted in the end.
It's not Cthulhu, it's not aliens, it's Santa Claus.
It is. That's who. Is that who Santa
Yeah.
Claus was this whole time? A 30-foot tall man with webbed
Yep.
hands.
Old Saint Fish.
Little Saint Fish. Well, you know what? It could be. It could be. But if he
I
comes, what if this is resurrecting old Saint Fish? Then that means we're going to be.
With the talks of fish, I believe this is going in more your direction with Cthulhu.
Well, it could
Because
be.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know how close this swamp was to the ocean until this story.
Yep.
Literally right down the street, there's the ocean.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I
I
think it's going in your direction.
But I mean, you never know. Maybe not, because
Well, I need to
they're
research on Cthulhu.
Yeah, I would, but it's very, very. They're also they're teleporting, and the only things that have teleportation is aliens,
Or it's the jewel,
which could be like an alien device.
or a. Well, then, if it's an alien device, then what's the point of the book?
It's instructions on how to use the alien,
But
because the
why would
aliens
they?
know we're too damn stupid.
Well, that's
We
the point.
we just start pressing buttons for no reason and end up blowing the world up.
It says ancient jewel for dummies.
Alien devices for dummies. Well, fair enough.
I
I
do
think
like the idea of the Black Pyramid and stuff. See, this one thing I gotta give it to. Even though, is this the only story series he's done?
I I'm not sure. Um,
Because he's very descriptive
yeah.
and with his stuff, and it gives you a good visual on what's going on.
Let
And
me check.
it's way better. Than it's more visual than the last two. Which the one in the apartment,
Uh,
it was it was visual, but and descriptive, but the issue was it just didn't go anywhere. And I don't even think there's been an update yet. I'll let you know in about 15 seconds.
there hasn't been.
Minutes. There hasn't been?
This is his. No, he has a lot. He has a lot more. Yeah.
He does a lot more?
He has a lot of stories. Yeah. He has a lot of stories, which means we won't have to read more of his or her stories.
Yes. I think there was an update to that maintenance one, the, the apartment one,
There,
updated 3 days ago.
oh, okay. We'll definitely have
So
to.
we'll have to revisit that, but let's try something new after. Let's get away from a series and just find another singular after we do part 3, which I don't think he's making another part to this story.
Okay.
But he got in the title for the next one. There is end question marks.
Good
So
morning.
he might be leaving it open.
Maybe. I think so far this series is the best one. It's going to take a lot to top this one off.
Yes, I agree.
But I think that's also where, you as the audience should chime in as well
Yeah.
and tell us what you think. Maybe even predictions to it. Am I going to be right with the Cthulhu? Whereas Mr. Payton here is going to be right with the aliens.
We'll see. It's
Maybe,
kind of leaning more in your direction.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
well,
you never know, and maybe the audience they'll let us know what they think.
yes. Um, uh, and if you're watching this on YouTube, like, leave a comment below on what you think is going on or what you think will happen for part 3 slash the end question mark. Or if you don't have time to watch it, give us a follow and listen us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
So we'd be happy to have you there.
And they need to, also, if you haven't even listened or watched to part 1, definitely go
Yeah,
read that one. It'll
yeah, don't.
it'll make a lot more sense for you. So, chef's kiss for me, 10 out of 10.
He's not a chef.
I am. I cook something. I'm just going to not tell anybody what. Leave that to the imagination.
All right, Heisenberg.
I am bald. I just need a goatee now.
Okay.
I'm going to get a goatee for the next one. Yeah, I do want to thank y'all for, tuning in for the next episode of our great and amazing high quality production $1 million studio podcast here.
The more
Telling some
we're
of the
able to
creepiest.
grow, the more better it'll show and just it'll develop more and more.
Yeah, and again, we haven't really seen much feedback on our videos, but definitely let us know
Yeah.
if you think we could do something. Even if you look at us and be like, "I hate y'all's faces.
Yeah.
Y'all were
We'd be
the
happy to hear.
Y'all were the ugliest sons of guns I've ever seen in my life." Let
Yeah.
us just put it in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah.
We're the ugliest sons of guns ever.
Yeah. Comment your criticisms.
Yeah.
They don't.
And
Yeah.
believe us, we got some tough skin. We can take it. Just don't be too mean, please. I could be fragile depending on the day. But no, definitely we want to I want to thank you. We want to thank you for tuning in and watching our videos. And, we'll definitely be coming out with more great stories.
Hopefully they're great. Like, we don't make stories. We just read them.
Hey, so far all of them's not been bad, but this one's been fantastic.
I agree with that. But if you like it, please leave a like on the video, or if you don't like it, leave a comment. like you said, we'd be happy to hear when you got thick skin.
Don't if you don't like it, still leave a like and comment.
Yeah, we criticism will still help us grow, no matter what it is.
Because we're both new to it.
Yeah, like
We
we're
both
learning as
don't
we go.
we don't know crap about all this, so we're just like everyday Joes. We'll definitely see y'all again.
Yeah, thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Thank you. Bye bye.